Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you the books that I read in the month of August. August was a slow reading month for me, but I am forgiving myself because August was a very stressful month. It started off with us having to put our dog down at the beginning of the month, and then my kids were sick for a little bit. It was just a cold, but still stressful because this day and age, you don't know, is it a cold, is it COVID, what is it? So that was stressful. We're obviously feeling much better now, but there was that. And then just the whole back to school stress has also been a huge problem this month. So August was not the best month. And so when the stress is high, the reading is low. That's just kind of the way it goes. So I did end up completing 4 books, but that's a little bit, that's a little bit less than what I normally do. But I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the ones I did complete. So I started off the month by reading and completing This One Summer by Jillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. This is a graphic novel that is about 2 girls who they kind of have this friendship where they only see each other every summer. Their families vacation at the same place, and so they spend the summers together. And this particular summer, they are going through some things, starting to kind of get into adolescence and that sort of thing. And so it just is about this particular summer and their experience. So overall, this story was okay. I think what really carried it for me was the artwork. I had some beautiful pages of artwork. An example that I can show you is this. It just had a very pretty soft sort of detail to it. I loved that the colors, it was all like this, just this kind of like purplish blue color and white. I just really enjoyed that. But the story, I did struggle a little bit with the story because I felt like for being like a coming of age story, our main character was throughout the story very, she was a little bit angsty. She was judgmental for sure. And by the end, I didn't feel like she had any sort of growth or learned any sort of lesson. And she just kind of left this summer basically the same way she started it. So I don't know, it just kind of, I was kind of hoping that it would have that sort of, that you normally see in a coming of age story where you see growth within the character. And the plot itself was pretty slow. I was kind of waiting for a big moment to happen that would change these girls' lives or something, and it just didn't really come. But then again, summers are often like that. They just kind of go by, and so I kind of understand why maybe that didn't happen within the plot, but I was still looking for something, and nothing ever came. So like I said, the main character was, for the most part, she was pretty unlikable, I think. Even though, I did sympathize with her in many ways because her parents were having marital problems and she was aware of it and it was affecting her. But there's just things about her that I guess I just didn't like or understand. Her friend, however, who is the younger of the 2 girls, she, I thought, was a very interesting character, and I liked that she often was the one who would sort of school her friend on, and call her out, like, you're being kind of judgmental, or, why do you think that way? Even though in kind of the eyes of everyone else, like, she was supposed to be the younger one, the more immature one, but often she was the one that showed more maturity. Overall, the story didn't wow me. The artwork, though, was beautiful, so I gave this one 3 stars. Next up, I read Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed, and I don't have a copy because I got it from the library and have since returned it. But this one is a pretty buzzy book right now because of some of the topics that it deals with. It is about a young woman named, oh my gosh, what is her name? Amira? Was that her name? I kind of forgot. And she is a young Black woman. I believe she's in her mid-20s. And she is a babysitter for a white family. And one night the mother, Alex, calls Amira and says, hey, I need you to come and take Briar, that's the little girl that she babysits for, take her like to the grocery store because something happened here and I don't want her to be around right now. So Amira comes there, she takes her to the grocery store to kind of distract her, entertain her. It's late at night, and basically in the grocery store, a security guard accuses her of kidnapping Briar. And so this whole thing kind of goes down. And the rest of the story is sort of the aftermath of that, but that's also kind of one of the issues I think I had with the book in terms of the plot, was that event happens very early on in the book, first chapter maybe, and then it kind of went away for a little while. For a big chunk of the middle, it was not something that was really addressed very often, and then it kind of comes back towards the end. So once that event happened, I was kind of like, okay, what's the rest of this book going to be about? Because this big thing has already happened, and then it seems like it's not being addressed really. So I was a little bit confused by that, by the kind of the plot and the flow of it. I guess I was just expecting it to be different. So a lot of the plot kind of felt like it was kind of meandering a little bit. I didn't know what was happening, and it was a little bit slow at times. I also felt like the characters were a little bit, oh gosh, how do I explain it? The white woman, Alex, Amira's boss, Briar's mother, was very strangely obsessed with Amira, and I just didn't understand it. I was like, what is with this woman? Why is she obsessed with this girl? Like, it was just very weird to me. And so her character, she was a very, one of those women who on the outside is very, you know, you think she really has it all together, but inside she's just a hot mess. And so she was very insecure and everything. But yeah, she just had this weird obsession with Amira that I didn't understand. And then Amira, there were definitely parts about her that I certainly identified with, because she's, like I said, is in her mid-20s and is kind of in that phase in life where she's like not sure what she wants to do, even though she's supposed to know by that age like what she's gonna do with her life. She's still kind of unsure, and I definitely identify with that because I was that way. I didn't move out of my parents' house until I was 25, and even at that point I still was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it was a very weird time. So that part of Amira's character I certainly identified with, but otherwise I felt like at times she was very closed off, and I guess I just wanted to get more into her character, but I just didn't quite. I felt kind of, I don't know, I felt like there was like a distance there. And then the writing was good, other than sometimes the dialogue was a bit choppy, and it just didn't really seem like it kind of flowed naturally. But other than that, the writing was good. And then another big thing that I would say was a kind of a con to the story for me was, and I can't really say exactly what it is because it would be a huge spoiler, but there's something that happens within a couple of the characters that I just found to be a little far-fetched, a little too convenient, where I felt like there's no way this would happen in real life. But it did happen in this book, and it did move the plot forward in many ways. So that also was a little bit strange for me. But overall, I thought that the themes of the book were certainly important and thought-provoking. It obviously talks a lot about that sort of performative activism, that performative allyship that happens a lot with white people when talking about things like, you know, Black Lives Matter and everything that's been going on, especially in the last few months here in America. And so it tackles that, and I thought it was done really well. It also talks about how the whole idea of like the white savior, and I thought that was also very interesting. So though to me there were things about the book that didn't quite knock it out of the park, I still felt like the themes were good. And so I still think it is definitely worth the read. If you are interested, you should check it out. I'm excited because I'm filming this, what is today? I'm filming on the 30th, and tomorrow night the Black Hotties are doing their live show about this book. I'm super excited to sit in on that live show and you know, see their discussion, because I think it's going to be really interesting. But overall, I gave Such a Fun Age 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so then I wanted to read this little ditty because I thought it would be a fun summer read. It was a quick one, and it's called Your Favorite Band Cannot Save You by Scott O'Moore. And this deals with a music blogger who comes across this song on the internet, and it has this very psychological and very hypnotic, strange sort of effect on him, where he just cannot stop listening to it. He becomes like obsessed, and it's this band that, you know, is brand new. No one's ever heard of them before. And they start releasing a new song every single day. And as the songs are released, strange things begin to happen. And this music blogger kind of finds them while they're touring around to try to figure out like what's up with this band and their music and the effect that it's having on people. And so it was, I thought it was going to be a really fun story. And there were parts of it that I did like, but I think overall the writing was weak. There was just, it was very like bare minimum in terms of descriptions, in terms of characters, like everything was just sort of flat. Where I think the story, what it needed is it needed more meat. And I know that's really weird to say, because a lot of times people tend to overwrite and say, oh gosh, this book could have been 100 pages shorter. I think this book could have been 100 pages longer, and maybe it might have been better. It just seemed like it kind of was rushed through, and nothing was really dived into at great length or at great depth. It was just there. So I think that if this book were turned into like a screenplay and became a movie, I think it could be a lot of fun, because it's a fun story. What ends up happening with this band and why the band is doing what it's doing is a fun concept and could make a cool movie, especially if you got a really great soundtrack going and a good score to go along with it. It would be really fun. But as a book, I didn't so enjoy it. Unfortunately, yeah, this book was a 2-star read. It just, the writing just didn't do it for me. And though the plot had it had potential, it just didn't quite get there. So yeah, 2 stars for me. And then I finished off the month by completing 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King, this big old book. This book has 4 novellas in it. The first one I read in July and decided to read the last 3 in August. This was an interesting collection. I think in terms of short story collections or collections by Stephen King, this is probably one of his best. Maybe, I still think maybe Different Seasons is the best one, but this one is close behind, I think, because the stories in here were pretty good. And I was reading some reviews of this collection on Goodreads, and I can't remember whose review it was, but they made a really interesting point that the overall theme of this collection seems to be about like laziness, because every story kind of touches on that and kind of the consequences of, you know, being slothful. Is that a word? Slothful? But that's kind of what I was, when I read that, I thought, yeah, that's true. That does seem to be a theme that carries through all 4 stories. Now, my favorite story in here is still the first one, The Langoliers. I loved that story. I talked about it in my July wrap-up, but it was just, it hit all the marks for me. The 3 I read this month, though, I would say Secret Garden, Secret Window, the second story, was probably 3-star. The Library Policeman, that story just took me on a ride. It just got so weird. It was so Stephen King. He takes this very basic storyline that I think a lot of kids feared as children, and the idea is that what happens if you don't return your library books? Was that something you were scared of as a child? Then you might get affected by this story, because it was just, wow, it just went woo crazy. However, there is a scene in The Library Policeman that I found to be extremely disturbing. I was not expecting it, and I literally had to turn the audiobook off and take a break from it for a day because I just was like so shook by that scene. But again, it's a fun, overall it was, I don't want to say fun, it got dark and it got weird, but it's like one of those stories that I think is always going to stick with me. So that means something, right? That was, there's something there, you know, that makes it kind of special. And then the last story, The Sundog, was okay. I honestly, I don't even remember much about that one. It just didn't really connect that well. It was probably about a 3-star because it was good, but I think I was still just reeling over the library policeman a little bit. So it was good. So overall, I think I gave this a 4-star because I had like 2 3-stars, a 5-star, and a 4-star. So I think I averaged it out to be about a 4. I don't know math. So yeah, this was a good collection. I would say if you're into Stephen King and you haven't read 4 Past Midnight, definitely check it out because these stories were pretty good. Alright guys, so those are all the books that I read in the month of August. Like I said, it was a pretty slow month, but not a bad month overall. It was alright. Hopefully September will be a little bit better in all avenues, stress-wise and reading-wise. So let me know down below what you read in August. I would love to hear what you guys have been reading. And yeah, I hope you guys are doing well, and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.